need this.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I get these magnet parts, so just give me a second. Oh, there we go. All right. Guys, these are here for me, so I'm going to try my best. Just warning you right now. All right. Imagine a blank screen, and you see these words pop up. The following information will contain details which may surprise or sadden you. Please know that the author's coping mechanisms are music, humor, pop culture references, and rambling. So, don't cry for me, string light stories. And let's have some fun with my trauma. I've never shied away from sharing. In fact, I found myself many times in the silent pause of realizing I may have shared something that made someone else uncomfortable. That's because I have the tendency to not only overshare, but to share in a way that is so matter-of-fact that the person receiving the information isn't sure if they truly heard what they think they heard, because there is no way I just said what I said in the way that I just said it. And that, my friends, was a great example of why I provided a ramble warning. My very sweet, very quiet husband once pulled me aside after hearing me share with others for the 10th time I almost died a week after having our first child. Isn't that wild story? He suggested I change my delivery. Because to him it wasn't amusing, it was terrifying. So yes, I have attempted to work on my delivery, but overall, I have yet to decide if the awkward pause that happens after I share what I share is a me problem or a them problem. But maybe we can decide together as I overshare here and now. Let's not start at the beginning, although we know it's a very great place to start. Let's start about 5 years ago when my oldest child was heading towards 10. When one day it suddenly dawned on me that I needed therapy. It was a simultaneous realization that my son was about to be 10 and I needed therapeutic support. And let me Zach Morris time out here. I would like the record to show it had nothing to do with him. It was strictly the realization that I now had a child that was an age I could clearly remember like it was yesterday. Because even here today, as I share this, the year I was 10 was the most prolific year in my life. And friends, I've had some wild years, including 2 that involved cancer. Still, the award for most dramatic year goes to 10. My mindset was to protect my sweet, innocent, pre-adolescently annoying boy. I did not want to project anything I went through in my childhood onto him, or his brother, or his sister. So, I found a therapist. And in that first session, I told her I have a list of things I need to make my way through. Things that happened the year I was 10 that I need to acknowledge. Or, at the bare minimum, I need to acknowledge enough. Enough not to assume or fear or throw them on my children as they get to that age. I rambled off events from that year in no particular order, other than how they popped into my head. Moving back to Omaha after 4.5 years in Utah. Parents divorcing. My father's other woman telling me he's been unhappy for the last 10 years. Finding my mom after her suicide attempt and running to find her help. Becoming an aunt, aka losing my place in the family as the baby. Learning more about my birth family and that I had biological siblings. Dealing with change in lifestyle financially and physically. Being shipped off to visit my aunt in New York and getting to see my first Broadway musical. A welcomed consolation prize to the events I've mentioned above. Realizing my true passion and ability to sing, meeting friends that became family, experiencing my first kiss, being called an Oreo. And then, as I finished my list, As if that time in life didn't seem hard enough, I blurted out, I also started my period that year. I paused to process everything I had said and to wonder if there was meaning in the order I had said them. My therapist saw me inside my own head and simply asked, "Where would you like to start?" And just like that, I realized that I wasn't only there for my year 10. I wasn't only there in anticipation of my child's year 10. I was there to begin my professional, supported, circling back. And sometimes the best way to be present is to circle back to where you have been. We dove into being adopted and all about my family, growing up in a family of 5 with sisters 12 and 13 years older than me, and the years in Utah where I discovered not only racial prejudice, but religious as well. And in future sessions, as we touched on the events of 10, we would circle back to before 10, or we would use one of the events at 10 to catapult forward years or decades. It was almost cosmic how each topic felt like it wove together in such natural ways. Because you know the saying, full circle? I've realized life is full of circles. We are continuously circling back to moments, events, or experiences that happened in our lives. And contrary to the popular opinion, I've decided that not everything happens for a reason. Instead, I've realized that for me, everything happens right on time. It's not for us to dissect events to understand everything about them, but rather embrace and accept the timing of the event or person or outcome. Take what we can from them, and then be open to learning more later if the time comes. Let's use the before-mentioned cancer as an example. It was early 2024, and my mom was in the hospital again. As I sat with her, I realized I had been watching my mother age in a different way than my sisters were. They were biologically her children, so they had pieces to take note of for their own potential glimpses into their future. And in a visit from timing, I got an email from the Med Center looking for volunteers for a genetic insight study. Now here's where, in my cinematic screenplay of life, I would have a montage of what happened next, underscored with an instrumental version of a Christian music classic, Oceans. Spirit, lead me where the trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. While scenes of me going to get the blood test, receiving results, and consulting with doctors on the actionable items found in testing. Here, I would learn I was BRCA1 positive. It would show me researching having a greater risk for breast, ovarian, pancreatic, and skin cancers. It would show meeting with genealogists, primary care specialists, and more testing. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith would be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. That is where the montage would briefly pause on the conversation with my OBGYN, really taking to heart the advice I needed to focus on me and not what this meant for my children. Watching me consider her every word, because this is a woman that guided me through pregnancies, pregnancy loss, and through my hysterectomy. This is a woman that saved my life after having my oldest child when a complication caused me to need a blood transfusion and surgery. The incident that I shared so differently than my husband. Here again, she was guiding me. And when all the conversations and testing would be complete, and with all the specialist conversations, I was calculated at having an 87% chance to get breast cancer. The idea of volunteering for surgeries never scared me. Medically, I had been through it. I now recognize that my previous medical experiences gave me the ability to look at this time with a different kind of clarity. But with all that being said, I was still afraid. However, my fear was of disrupting my family's normal. So, I attempted to postpone the preventative double mastectomy with mom math. This consisted of calculating when soccer season ended and if there was time before basketball got too crazy to schedule the surgery. However, I was encouraged to go with next available, aka to stop trying to control and just do it. I shared my story and my experience on Facebook. Initially, my goal was here's what it was. My goal was to not only let people see me with fake tits and wonder if I was in a midlife crisis. I knew nothing about the process really and assumed I would come out looking like a real housewife of insert whichever city here. I didn't exactly say all that in my post, but I shared what was happening and my reasoning and used my experience as a learning tool for genetic testing options for others. But really what sharing gave me was a tool that would soon become not only necessary, but therapeutic. October 30th, 2024, I had my breast amputated and began the start of a reconstructive process. I was a Pfeifer. But wait, Sarah, you said you had cancer. Oh, yes, I did. But at that time, I didn't know it. A week later, the pathology lab results hit my inbox. Yep, I saw them in an evening all by myself. Dr. Google and I took one word at a time until I was almost certain. And then I sent it to my sweet friend in the medical field. Poor girl. Nothing like asking someone to confirm you had cancer. She did. And I did. I had triple negative breast cancer, the most aggressive and most likely to return type of cancer. Thank you very much. And also one that they rarely find this early because it's hard to detect. It is often found when it spreads to other parts of your body. How's that for timing? I volunteered to have my breasts removed to prevent a possibility of developing cancer someday. And turns out that someday was today. This is when the Always a Musical in my brain began singing No Day But Today from the musical Rent. Yes, I live this moment as my last. There's only us. There's only this. Forget, regret, or life is yours to miss. No other path, no other way, no day but today. Here I am going from preventative champion to cancer warrior. Steps moved fairly quickly after that. I went back into surgery for a chemo port, started the chemo process, and postponed any reconstruction until after treatment. The list of possible side effects was wild. One would think the hair loss would be the toughest for me, but it was initially surprisingly not. Because of what? Timing. Yes, that's right. I had just gone on a 5-year natural hair journey, which coincidentally not only meant natural curls and no heat to my hair, it also meant cutting it shorter and shorter as I went. Timing. And several beautiful Black artists reminded me that I can love my hair, thanks to Mickey, and I am not my hair. Thank you, India Ari. She said, I am not my hair, I am not my skin. I am the soul that lives within. And those were the words that I would always remember. But she even went further. She had a verse. Breast cancer and chemotherapy took away her crowning glory. She promised God if she was to survive, she would enjoy every day of her life. But guess what else timed right? I had a therapist. She was ready to support me through the mental roller coaster cancer is. Because my initial why me was a profound gratitude with a slight guilt to being here when so many were not. This time there would be no montage, rather the old school fast forward graphic with the sound most of us, checking for ages, most of us know from VHS tapes or cassettes. I think we're pretty good here. Yes, okay. Let's jump towards the end of the treatment when my why me was a lot less grateful and a lot more whiny. Let's Zach Morris time out again. To be extremely clear here, I was fucking pissed. I was a good person. I was a loving wife, mother, friend. I volunteered a lot for things. What the fuck did I do to deserve this? And wait for it, my middle child, my son, was 10. Can you believe it? He was fucking 10. I was worried about projecting issues on my oldest, and here comes cancer to fuck up his year 10. Aubrey, I need a deep breath here. Back to what else cancer's timing caused. Change to a career, which resulted in a more flexible schedule. And this timing is the most important of all. Yes, timing saved my life, but because of the career change, I was available to spend the month of November 2025 with my mom while she was on hospice. I heard a lot of circling back moments from my mom that month. Moments I wish we could have circled back on way before, so I could have reassured her long ago that this was okay or that never was an issue to me. And several of those conversations circle back to when I was 10. Get this. She was worried that her being on hospice now and not being able to fight anymore for life was me thinking she was abandoning me like she did when she attempted to end her life and I found her. And thank God for that circling back, because I was able to provide her with the peace that was not at all the case. She also shared with me such lovely memories I didn't even realize were moments to her. Like when I performed a song one time as an understudy, my junior year in high school. Honestly, I may have been more taken back by that recall over her end of life comparison. And as our time ends here sharing experiences with you, I know that chapters are already starting on other stories to share in the novel that is life. And someday I'll gladly overshare them. I have added my filters as it relates to my audiences, and as my husband so kindly reminded me, my delivery. I'm careful how I share experiences with my children. Overall, I've learned to find peace with the discomfort, knowing there are greater good in the initial discomfort when learning's involved. And I want to leave you today with permission to circle back more. Whether it's professionally with a therapist to work through a time in life, or a phone call to a friend or family member to reminisce on a moment in time that meant so much to you, because it's okay not to wait until the end is near. Because, friends, there's something magical about an impactful moment, an impactful life experience, re-emerging later as what it always was, a life lesson. Recently, I went with my daughter to see Frozen at the Rose and Wicked at the Orpheum. She is my baby and my only girl. And right now, she is 10. These musicals are not her consolation prizes because her mom's rough year affected her life. And she has many other shared experiences in her 10 happening as she embraces her love of singing. Although, let's Zach Morris here one more to time out. To be clear on one more thing, she outsings me, hands down. She's singing songs from Hamilton and Wicked instead of my 90s Disney classics, whatever. But the timing of her year 10 and being here and now with you is not lost on me as I share my experience circling back and encouraging you to do the same. Thank you for your time and for this platform to share. I know, I'm sorry.
I'm mad at you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.